Morning, all. It is the 18th of March, 2024. Hope you're doing well. Um, this should be the last day. There will be audio problems with the wind interference. Sorry about that. I didn't realize how bad it was at times. You can see the phone moving right now, so I'm sure you're seeing it too. But anyway, I ordered a set of lapel mics from Amazon that are blue. They're not even Bluetooth, but they connect wirelessly to my phone, and they do supposedly a great job of canceling out wind noise. So I'll take care of that soon. Um, this morning I was doing yard work because it was kind of chilly out, and I don't really have any big things to do in my car right now other than the left rear door. I could replace that, but I'd rather wait for a warmer day, and that's kind of an all-day project, so I didn't want to embark on that today. I'll have to work the next 3 days, so this will be my last update for until probably Friday, something like that, unless I get done, and usually early maybe, but so my goals today are very modest. So I'm going to do some minor stuff. I've got new high beam headlights I bought online because both of these are the lenses somehow are cracked and they're fogging over. So I'm just going to go to replace them. Eventually, at some future date, maybe after the body work is all done, I'll put LED headlights in. But right now, I'm just using the halogen lamps. They work just fine for the little bit of nighttime driving that I might rarely do. I have an electrical issue with my power windows. The only switches that work are the master ones on the driver's door. None of the switches on the doors are working right now. They were last summer, so it's possible that the plug that goes into a master switch on the driver's console is unplugged. If not, it could be the master switch itself that's defective. I don't know. I'm going to troubleshoot that, see if I can get that fixed. Um, I'm going to install a vacuum reservoir that goes under the hood here. I've not been in any rush to get the vacuum flowing back inside the car because I have no need for it right now. The only things that it would be used for primarily is the heating and air conditioning, neither of which function right now. Not a high priority. Um, and the other things that they operate are the automatic parking brake release. That's not a big deal. And also, when you press the button on the windshield washer, it automatically starts and stops the wipers after a couple of swipes. But again, that's minor stuff. So, but I will at least put the reservoir back in place so I can continue to clean out my shed and get things better organized in there. Take a look at the low fuel warning relay. That was something Brian suggested as to why that red warning light doesn't come on when I'm low on gas. It has a blue plug, so I'm going to look for that, see if I can figure out what's going on with that. And that's really about it. I've got a blown fuse to replace. I shorted my dash lights accidentally last night when I was fiddling with the steering column. But just minor stuff, waiting for other things to show up for my front end. Something else I forgot to mention on my intro video was that I did some research last night about the transmission and how I noticed that it appeared to be starting in second gear. Well, it turns out, and I'm sure some of you gearheads already know this, I didn't know it, but it turns out that a 1966 C6 transmission is different from every transmission since, starting in 1967. And I may not have mentioned it in my videos, or you may not be fully aware, but the engine and transmission that are in my 67 Lincoln are both 1966 vintage. That's what I bought from Brian in Kentucky. Came out of a 66 Lincoln. So the transmission has a different valve body, and it also, if you look at the gear indicator on a 66, it's different than on a 67. In 66, it's got different buttons here or whatever. It has like a dot here where the D is, and it has a green dot here, and it has the word drive above both of these, and then there's an L for low over here. So what that means is that, and I guess that's why some people call them green dot transmissions, because when you put the lever on a 66 Lincoln in this middle position, it actually is, I believe it's considered D1, while this one is D2. So this position here, when you put it in that position, the transmission is supposed to start in second gear. It's supposed to help with snow and ice conditions. I didn't know that. I had no idea. I've never driven a 66 Lincoln. I've seen those indicators, but I never really paid much attention to it. So what I need to do on my car is I actually need to put it in what looks like second gear here, but that's actually going to be the D1 position or the green dot position. And that supposedly will start it off in first gear and it'll shift normally. And then the 1 corresponds to L on the older iteration, and it stays locked in first gear. And I knew that it worked in first gear because I had put it in first gear and drove it, and it definitely did. So I'm pretty sure that the transmission is shifting just fine. It's just different in 66 than 67 and forward. I didn't know that. I was fascinated by that. It's just amazing the little tiny differences like that between years, even with the same transmission, a C6. Just wanted to share. Of course, I won't be able to test that until I'm done with the front end work and I got the shocks back in and everything that's back on the road. I did finally just get a notice just now from PST that they finally shipped my front end kit, my tie rods, my center link, all that stuff. So maybe when I get back to work on the car again on by Friday, I'll be able to put the front end back together. And by then, I may have that part that goes in this steering column too, I hope. I also forgot to mention that I've already fixed my issue with the windows. I don't know how I managed to do this, but somehow I had the plug underneath completely reversed, and one of the tabs wasn't even plugged in. So all I had to do was unplug it, rotate it around, plug it back in, and now the windows are fine. They operate from the other positions like they're supposed to. So that was an easy fix. I like easy fixes like that. Moving right along. I'm out here replacing my high beam headlights now. These are Wagner's H5001 high beams. I was trying to figure out how I managed to damage both of my high beam headlights because they were both fine when I first bought the car, and yet they both acted like they had cracks in them when I turned the headlights on the first time. And I figured out what must have happened is I probably damaged them. There's just a tiny little crack right there at the top or on the side. Actually, I think what might have happened, I didn't have this handy tool here that Brian told me about to take care of the spring. So I basically was forcing it in there against all that tension with the ring and everything. And I think I probably just cracked it on my own when I was installing it. Didn't have the same problem with the low beams because the spring is more easily accessible. But now with my little tool, I don't have to do it that way anymore, and I can just put the ring on separately and then reconnect the spring, and everything will be great. It'll be grand. I also wanted to mention that I heard from PST finally. They've shipped my front end kit, so I should have that tomorrow. So if I happen to get home from work early enough and the parts are here, then I might actually be able to start on this tomorrow, which would be grand. That would be awesome. I also heard from R2 Enterprises. They're shipping my steering column collar today. Should have that by Wednesday or Thursday, and my shocks should also be here by Wednesday or Thursday. So by the end of the week, I should have everything I need to get the car back on the road, and I'm super excited about driving it after all that work, and also to test the transmission as I was talking about earlier. When I look a little closer at the high beams that I'm replacing, I feel kind of bad because it turns out they both had the FOMO Co. stamp on them right in the middle, so these might have actually been original headlights. I feel kind of bad that I damaged them, but it is what it is. At least I'll have a matching set on the inside, Wagner's and Westinghouse for the low beams. All right, there's the test. All headlights are working. So that part's done. I'll just put the covers back on and be done with that little mini project. Maybe I'm the only one who's behind the times, but man, if you don't have one of these little tools, you got to get one. Advanced Auto Parts. It makes putting that spring back on there so easy. I can't believe all these years I've survived without one of these. And as you know, I use them on my carburetor return springs too. Basically anything with a spring. This is a beautiful, simple tool for it. Can't recommend it enough. Thanks again, Brian, for that one too. Before I install my reservoir back on the car, I thought it would be prudent to check it for leaks. So I've got the one end plugged off, the other end's on my vacuum gauge, so we're going to pump this up a little bit and make sure it holds. It's a pretty good sized reservoir, so I guess it takes a little pumping to get it up there. I would expect to be able to get up to, engine vacuum around 15. I don't even know what the measurement is in that millibars. I don't even know what it is, but anyway, I'm going to pump it up until I reach 15 here, and then we'll watch it for a minute or two to make sure it's actually holding. It occurred to me that Brian tried to give me another one of these, and I declined. I don't know why I did that. Should never turn down spare parts, right? I guess I figured, this thing's going to work just fine, right? So I got it almost up to 15 now. Okay, I don't hear any noise, and I don't see any movement. So that's a good sign. Yeah, I don't see it moving at all. Okay, good. So that means this thing is not rusted through. and it's holding, so I'm going to go ahead and install that back under the passenger fender. So these are the vacuum lines that hook into the reservoir. They're in surprisingly good condition. I'm sure these are the original hoses from 1967. They're in surprisingly good shape, so I guess being sheltered under the fender here has protected them well. I think what I'm going to try and do, if I can figure out where the other ends of these come out at, is I'll test these lines individually to make sure that they're not leaking, and maybe I can do that in sections all the way through. There you see the vacuum reservoir back in place. I got the hoses tucked underneath that little shield there. I guess that's what preserved them all this time. So that's back in place. So now, if I feel like it, and I might play with it a little bit, is follow those hoses up here to where where they connect and all that, and see about replacing some of the ones that are in bad shape. I've been resisting hooking up the vacuum, as I said earlier, because vacuum leaks are a prime problem for a poor running engine. So once I've gotten the engine to the point where I'm satisfied with how it's running, that's when I was planning on connecting the vacuum lines to the engine. I'm pretty close now that I got that carburetor issue fixed with the hesitation. I'm pretty close to where I want to be, so I'm just about ready to maybe hook up some lines. So I might play with that for a little while, or I might not. I'm going to take a look, see what's involved here. All right, I'm going to try and keep my focus on safety-related items first before I deal with hooking up more vacuum lines. So I think the next thing I'm going to work on is the windshield washers. You can see how dirty my windshield already is just sitting here for a few days after I cleaned it one time about a week ago. One time when this car was painted very sloppily, they painted right over the nozzles, so I'm sure they're plugged up. So that's probably going to be some fun to get those working and unplugged. I do have new rubber hoses attached to them. I did that when I had the cowling off. And I know the motor runs, I just don't know if it leaks. So I'm going to first test the motor, see if it's any good. If I need to order a new one, I will. Obviously, I need a reservoir too, so I already got a line on where to get one of those. Um, so I'm going to see about these nozzles, see if I can get them unplugged and working next. All right, the washer pump no longer functions. It makes a lot of noise, but it's not pumping any water. So I'm definitely going to have to replace it. No surprise there, as old as it is. And I'll get a new reservoir while I'm at it too. So I'll go order that. And the last thing I have on my list today is to take a look at that low fuel warning relay. So I'm going to see if I can figure out that. Although it is possible to remove this pump without taking the splash shield out from under here, I find it much easier just to get those half-inch bolts out, move it around enough where you can access the other side of it, which is what I did. So now I have that out. I'm going to go buy a new one online with the reservoir, and that'll probably conclude my day. All right, I'm wrapping up the day. I just ordered a new windshield washer pump from Mark II Enterprises. They had the best price, and I ordered a washer fluid reservoir bag from Old Car Clearance on eBay. They had the best price for that. Still expensive, but I shopped around as usual. It was a good day. I mean, I didn't do anything major, but I got several smaller things done, so I'm satisfied. The only thing I didn't do that I said I was going to do, and I kind of forgot to do it, because I got distracted by the windshield washer, was I was supposed to look at that low fuel warning relay, but that's not a big deal, so I'll get back to that eventually. It's on my to-do list. So y'all have a good day. Thanks for watching.